Well, Patrick put the point to Unai Emery, Tony, that things not just aren't improving, but in many cases they're actually getting worse compared to Wenger's time at Arsenal.
I think defensively we have done. Koscielny with Sgon and Luiz, I don't think it's helped us defensively, and there's been a problem with him getting used to and the other players getting used to the way that he does or doesn't defend. And I think it's easy to blame Emery. And he's got a group of players here that he's doing his best with. And I think it's a bigger problem than this coach. It really is.
Jamie, you look at the numbers, though, as we saw there, and you don't want to always reduce football down just to the black and white figures. However, other than defeats, and Arsenal have had slightly fewer defeats in Emery's first 50 games compared to Wenger's last, they've got fewer points.
The clean sheets.
They've had more. Yeah, they've scored fewer goals. They've conceded more. They've had fewer clean sheets, fewer attempts, fewer of them obviously on target. That makes sense. Fewer chances created, faced more shots. I mean, it's every end of the pitch, isn't it?
One thing they aren't doing is is keeping clean sheets, and we had. One season, I think we kept 24 one season, clean sheets. If you're always going to concede the goals, the whole team feels vulnerable straight from the start.
But this has been a problem, not this year, last year. This has been a problem for 10 years now, watching Arsenal, with the same problems. No leaders. And I'm not just talking about on the field, I'm talking about off the field, I'm talking above. I don't know who buys the players, I don't know who's the person that's in charge of recruitment, like Tony said.
Your dad was brilliant, Jamie, to be honest with you. He always went and met the players. And I don't think that kind of personal touch is done at Arsenal. They've got a fantastic database, and they're looking at all these players, analysing the database, looking at all these great players. And you're one player in particular, your dad always used to mention no names, talk about it. He went, I shouldn't have taken him because I felt it when I signed him. It's so important that, the manager goes and talks to that player. We always chose the player at Arsenal, his character before the technique. It was prime. First things first. What are they like as a person? Are they out there? Are they going to scrap and give everything to Arsenal? If they are, tick the box, and then you look at the technical. I think these guys now, when they look at the data, they go, scores, we've got a lot of data there, crosses, assists and all that, and they don't actually look at the character of the player. And we used to have that policy.
And I'm not talking about, the game's changed in terms of players now. You can't point fingers at people. Even people, we will talk about why nowadays we don't do man-to-man marking. It's because a lot of times the players don't want to be accountable for a mistake because they're all maybe a little bit fragile. But I think we're not talking about players going kicking anybody. I'm just talking about players that work hard, that want to set the right examples. And I just look at the type of players that they've been buying for a while now, Arsenal. And it's not the type of players that were the players that I played against at Arsenal, with leaders and people that want to make the right decisions. Now, you could go and talk about who's going to come under pressure. The press this weekend will probably say, well, is it his time? I don't think it's about that, really. The players aren't good enough, Kelly. When we're talking 10, 15 minutes ago about how many Arsenal players are getting Leicester side, that shows you. Excuse me, I've got a runny nose there, Kel. But it's not just his fault, and these are problems that Arsene Wenger's created as well. This has been happening and coming for an awful long time. It's a bit like what's happening at Tottenham right now. Watching Leicester was like watching Tottenham a few years ago, and all of a sudden you don't buy, you don't keep going, you don't get to that next level. What's happened at Arsenal has become a consequence. Now you can sack him, who are you going to get in? Who's the answer? I don't know, Tony. If he went, who's you going to get? Who's going to make it any better really quickly? I'm not sure they are, because I'm saying they're not that good a group of players.
Could another manager do better then with this group of players?
I don't think so. I think you'll get an initial lift, maybe. But what are you looking for? What's your, where do you want to take this team? I said last year that he did an unbelievable job. I didn't expect him to get into the top half after Arsenal. So many changes, 13 backroom staff changes. It's just too many. You need time, and he needs time.
Yeah, can I just back Granit Xhaka as well? Because a lot's been said about him, and the fact that he was a captain for a while, and he's probably watched that game and he's thinking, what's next for me? I got a bit of stick at Liverpool at times, and I was always told, my dad, everybody, all good people around me, there's only one thing you can do, is get back on the pitch and show them and prove everyone wrong. Probably the wrong thing to say, go and make tackles. I would say that's the opposite for him. But I would say, go on that pitch and show you want to play. Because I tell you what, players have done worse. I mean, I've had it as Liverpool, and I've told people, go and do one after giving me a bit of stick. And the hardest thing to do is look yourself in the mirror. But if he comes back into the Arsenal team and puts himself about and shows he wants to play, you can soon turn it around, because they're not that. I don't think they're in a situation where they can afford, to carry on and have players that are on big money not in the team. What do you think, Tony?
Absolutely right. I think it's character, isn't it? My first game, 10 minutes into the first game, I've made a mistake and the ball's ended up in my own net. Moments like that, you had to go, what are you going to do now? And what I would do, I ran around and started kicking people, and everyone went, "Oh, that's fantastic!" And I thought, "Oh, you can get out there again and go and work your socks off for the clubs, and the fans, they'll love it." They'll love it, and they'll take him back on side for sure. If he gives the right attitude, get out there and go and work hard and run himself. I think that the crowds, there is still time for him, but it's a critical time.
We've touched on the issue of captaincy as well. We touched on it before the game, and we've mentioned it afterwards. But it's a much deeper problem than we can sort out in a couple of minutes, isn't it?
The captain situation. Well, I think it comes down to recruitment again, and your policy around meeting players, judging their characters. Are they Arsenal people? We had a style and what's the word? A kind of class that we were, and we. I trained at West Ham, and there was about 40 kids running around a room, and we were kind of going, we went over to the Arsenal, and, the chief scout gave flowers to my mother and stuff. It's just a nice way of doing stuff. I don't think they even know their families. The club at the moment is a very different family to the one that I joined in '79.